Thank you, Nicole. This morning, the news of Microsoft's proposed takeover of Yahoo is reverberating through Wall Street, Washington, Europe, and the Internet. Our colleagues at the Wall Street Journal reporting that Google has offered to help Yahoo fend off the takeover by letting Yahoo outsource its web advertising to Google. Now, if that doesn't stop Microsoft and the $45 billion deal goes forward, then antitrust regulators in the U.S. and Europe will have to sign off on it. Congress is already weighing in. A House committee will hold a hearing on the proposal Friday. In the Senate, the Democratic chairman of the Antitrust Committee in the Senate, Herb Kohl, says, quote, "We will need to scrutinize the deal carefully to ensure that it will not cause any harm to the competitiveness of what has been a vibrant, high-tech marketplace." Joining us now to discuss the regulatory, competitive, and investment aspects of the deal are from Boston, Jarvis Coffin, CEO of the online ad network Burst Media, Jonathan Zuck with the Association for Competitive Technology, and Peter Dunay, market strategist with Leib Capital. Welcome, one and all. Jonathan, let me start with you. What are the antitrust issues, the legal issues in this deal?
Well, I think fundamentally the biggest issue is that Google has something like 75% market share in the online advertising space and in the online search space. So I think a lot of people, whether it's consumers, Wall Street, advertisers, have all been looking for this merger to happen for some time so there'd be a viable competitor to Google. Brother
Jonathan, an old pal, I'll have to admit, from the Microsoft antitrust case. I'm going to come right back at you because I also was prepared for that comment. On the other hand, Hitwise research says that Yahoo properties accounted for 13%, only 13% of all U.S. web page visits in the weekend of January 26, compared to 7.7% for Google and 2.4% for Microsoft Network MSN. What about that? That doesn't show that much market dominance by Yahoo.
No, the market dominance is by Google, right? I mean, in the online advertising space and in the online search space, this is a situation where this merger between Microsoft and Yahoo would still make them a distant second. I mean, Google's got that market pretty well tied up in knots. It's about a $40 billion market now, and it's expected to double in the next 3 years. And given the network effects associated with online advertising, you have to expect that Google is going to get a lot of that new market. So I think a merger like this is really just designed to provide a viable competitor to a single player that's already setting prices in that market.
Peter, what do you think happens here if Microsoft gets Yahoo?
Yeah, this is going to really put Microsoft aggressively in the internet space. They have not been as aggressive there as they wanted to be. They've seen the growth has been there. And you do, as Jonathan just said, have Google really dominating here. So this would probably give Microsoft about 25% of the space by the time they do the merger. And I think that's one of the reasons they're paying such a high price. They want to get this done quickly.
Jarvis, what does this mean for advertisers on the internet?
Well, to the comments that have been made, I'm not sure what it means for advertisers on the internet. I mean, I think we have to remember that where Google dominates is in paid search, and they've won that race. Frankly, I'm not sure how the combination of Yahoo and Microsoft makes either of them more competitive with Google in that regard. And I'm not sure what it adds up to, the combination of Yahoo and Microsoft for advertisers. You're getting basically just sort of two companies that have large portal footprints in the marketplace. Add those two together, you get a bigger portal, but I'm not sure that as far as the advertising community is concerned, it's getting them incrementally more of what they're looking for.
Oh, well, let me follow up, Jarvis, and ask you, are you concerned at all if Microsoft and Yahoo merge to this issue of antitrust and competition, that prices for your clients will go up in internet advertising?
I don't think so. I mean, it's too soon to say. Again, I think that the internet is a vast place. And indeed, that's what, we saw a lot of consolidation in the market at the beginning of last year. And in the second half of the year and by the end of the year, the focus was all on on fragmentation in the market. And I think that's where advertisers have their sights set. They're trying to figure out how to disperse their messages across a broader array of websites, not how to make better use of portals, which are already crowded and already expensive.
Peter, let me ask you about some history here, because AOL, as you recall, acquired Netscape back in the day, back when Netscape was the hot property. And that merger didn't really work out for AOL Time Warner.
No, and certainly Time Warner's bid for AOL, that went through was one of the most expensive deals in history and just did not work out. There is a lot of good stuff on Yahoo, though. There's Yahoo Finance. There's a lot of things in there that makes this deal look very attractive, particularly for a synergy for Microsoft. So I think this is a little better than trying to enter, sort of complements what they have.
At the end of the day, do you see regulators signing off on this deal?
I do, because I think Google is still a large enough competitor that they would like to see someone come in and be able to compete with them.
And do you recommend investors maybe buy Microsoft ahead of this?
Microsoft I would like, yeah. I mean, Yahoo on the run-up already on the deal is probably chasing a little bit too much at this point, but I certainly think Microsoft is very attractive here.
Jonathan, break down what we might see there in Washington as far as antitrust approval for this deal versus what might happen in Europe, because as you know, the EU really ran Microsoft through the ringer for almost a decade on the antitrust issues over in Europe.
Well, you have to remember that regulatory agencies in the U.S. and Europe are already looking at Google and the DoubleClick merger, and so I think in that context they're going to again be looking for some kind of a viable competitor to Google in a marketplace where Google's essentially price setting. So I think that there'll be hearings, there'll be an investigation, etc. But I have to believe the outcome is going to be, wow, it'd be better to have two players in the marketplace than one.
And Jarvis, let me finish up with you. Do you see advertisers, as this works its way through the process, do you see advertisers ultimately supporting it, and do you think the deal gets done?
I think the deal probably gets done. Again, when you peel it all back and look at what the combination of Microsoft and Yahoo amounts to, it is Google dominates in paid search, which is half the $40 billion market nearly that we were talking about earlier. Yahoo and Microsoft are very strong in the display advertising business. The combination of the two, I think advertisers will support it. But again, I think advertisers are looking for new sources, new avenues for their ad dollars online. And I think their focus is frankly going to be on how do they distribute it, how do they move away from the portals. Frankly.
All right, Jarvis Coffin at Burst Media, Peter Dunay of Lieb Capital, and Jonathan Zuck, Association for Competitive Technology. Thank you for joining us. And Jonathan, just want to also let our viewers know that Microsoft is a member and supporter of your organization. Well, the deal certainly has tech titans Google and Microsoft trading barbs. Yesterday, Google Chief Legal Officer David Drummond also blogged that Microsoft could, quote, now attempt to exert the same sort of inappropriate and illegal influence over the Internet that it did with the PC. Yow. Up next, you could have gotten lost in Super Bowl media land yesterday, but Market Watch's Jonathan Friedman found his way out. He's up next to tell you how he did it. More Money for Breakfast after the break.